mehr im Kopf.
Ich war ja als Tourist in Chiang-Hai, aber ich bin nicht nach Tibet gekommen. Chiang-Hai ist ja auch das tibetische Hochland und wir waren da tagelang auf 3200 Meter. Das war schon sehr anstrengend. Aber Tibet ist ja nochmal 1000 Meter höher. Aber da kommt man als Ausländer nicht so einfach hin. Und ich wäre nicht gerne mit einer Touristengruppe gefahren, sondern wenn, dann nur alleine auf meine Art. Und das konnte ich nicht machen.
Also vor 10 Jahren konnte man als Ausländer eine eigene touristische Gruppe bilden und dann mit einem Fahrer und einem Übersetzer durch Tibet reisen. So haben wir gemacht. Eine einzige Familie als eine touristische Gruppe.
Das könnte sein, aber vor 10 Jahren hätte ich das nicht gekonnt. Da war ich noch viel zu sehr beschäftigt. Ich bin erst das erste Mal touristisch gereist 2016. Und als die Eisenbahn nach Tibet eröffnet wurde, ich hatte einen Bekannten, mit dem ich eine Fotoausstellung gemacht habe, schon 2005 in Shanghai, mehrfach ausgestellt. Und ich weiß nicht mehr genau, wann die Eisenbahn eröffnet wurde, 2007, 2008, weiß nicht mehr genau, hat er mich eingeladen und ich konnte nicht, ich war im Ausland. Ich hätte die Eröffnungstour mitmachen können.
Siehst du, in unser Chat hatte eine Li Zhibo geschrieben, He Jinghe lebt in Qilianshan. Kennst du den Begriff Qilianshan?
Qilianshan.
Qilianshan, ein großer Berg in China, eine Berggruppe.
Ist ein Berg, ja, aber ich weiß nicht, wo er ist. Also He Jinghe lebt natürlich in Tibet und in Chiang-Hai und auch ein bisschen in Yunnan. So, jetzt sind wir ja gleich soweit, ne?
Ja, wir können noch einige Minuten warten. Dann
ja.
10:30 Uhr dann pünktlich mehr an.
Hallo, guten Morgen.
Hallo, morgen. Okay. Aber die Zeit ist um, ja, wir können vorher anfangen. Ich glaube, einige Leute kommen später. Okay. Dann fangen wir an. Welcome to 176 event of German Chinese Book Club. This event is also live on our YouTube channel now at the same time. Thank you, Dr. Wessling, for coming today, and thank you for Qian for being today's host, and thank you to all volunteers of our book club. And my name is Zhu Feifan. I'm the founder of the book club. Firstly, let me introduce our club, our German Chinese book club, and I will share my screen. Firstly, for this PowerPoint is of Deutsch. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. This is our slogan. This is our Name von Formos. This is our slogan. Travel to see. Read to know. learn to understand the people and the world. Und übersicht von uns. Das ist vor 4 Jahren habe ich diese Book Club gegründet. Momentan wir haben mehr als 2000 Mitglieder und wir haben 66 freiwillige Helfer und 15 Kernleute, also 15 Hauptorganisatoren. Und das Ziel von uns ist, wir möchten Leute, die lernen gerne, lesen gerne, finden. Und wir möchten auch diese Brücken zwischen China und Deutschland aufbauen. Momentan wir haben 11 Standorte. Zum ersten fangen wir in Dresden statt und momentan wir haben 10 Standorte in Deutschland und 1 Standort in Peking. Außer dieser 11 Standorte, wir haben auch 3 Branchenverbände, zum Beispiel Energietechnik und Automobilverband und auch diese Psychologie. Wir haben 3 verschiedene Veranstaltungen. Zuerst ist das Interview, zweite ist die Diskussion am Rundtisch. Normalerweise wir über ein Thema oder über ein Buch diskutieren darüber. Und heute ist der dritte für ein Vortrag und auch Interview. Ja. Und wir haben auch mit einigen anderen deutschen Vereinen oder deutschen Gemeinden zusammen, um eine Aktivität zu organisieren, zum Beispiel mit Dresden Umweltzentrum und auch Dresden Asia Center. Und vor 2 Jahren, wir haben auch ein kurzes Video gemacht. Das ist zum 17. Jahrestag der Gründung von China. Und dieses Video hat also gespielt in Hunan TV in China. Und wir haben auch einen Vortrag machen, das ist mit chinesischer Botschaft zum Thema One Belt, One Road. Und also auch mit anderen chinesischen Regierungen und auch einige Vereine in Deutschland und in China. Ja, und das ist Aktivität der lokalen Book Clubs in unterschiedlichen Städten. Zum Beispiel, das ist in Peking, das ist in Düsseldorf, das ist in Bonn. Und ja, das letzte, das ist unser Code. Wenn Sie uns kontaktieren möchten, dann können Sie das scannen. Und auch für diese, auch ein kleines Slogan. Die Zeit vergeht, lassen wir uns diesen Moment, dann wir miteinander verbringen, mit der größten Aufrichtigkeit genießen und wertschätzen. Okay, das ist mein Introduce zu Deutsch-Chinesischer Book Club. Dann nächste, vielen Dank. Okay. Dann Frau Chen, bitte.
先给我们各位这次活动书友会的朋友们打声招呼哈，我叫钱新荣，来自多特蒙德，在德国从事针对中国人和亚洲人的心理咨询。今天很高兴来做客座主持，是不是这样子？
客座主持，对的。
我很高兴请到我的朋友 Dr. Bernhard Wessling 作为我们今天的我们这样做一个那个 interview 哈，我们做一个这种不是仅仅是一个 Vortrag， 就可能我跟他之间呢会有一些交流。OK， Bernhard， 你想不想跟大家先打声招呼？
谢谢，我可以给你们演讲回答你的问题，谢谢。
好，谢谢。Bernhard 是他其实中文是不错哈。我们今天呢，我们的 interview 会用德语来做，但他呢也准备了花了很多时间准备了一些 PowerPoint， 在他回答我的问题的时候用的是英文，可能会有更多人能够看得更加清楚一点。那然后呢，如果大家在整个过程中有什么问题的话，可以用中文、英文、德语都可以写在我们的 chat 里面，对吧？到时候我们在这个 interview 完了以后，我们会有提问和回答的环节。Okay, Bernhard, dann fangen wir an. Wir kennen uns noch nicht so lange. Ich weiß, dass du promovierte Chemiker bist, du bist erfolgreicher Unternehmer, Naturliebhaber, passionierte, kann ich beobachten, beziehungsweise kann ich Experte seit mehr als 40 Jahren. Und du bist Familienvater, du bist ein China-Kenner. Und. Man konnte sehr viele Stempel finden, die zu dir passen. Aber ich freue mich sehr, dass du meine Einladung angenommen hast und heute hier bist. Für mich ist sehr gute Angelegenheit, dich als Person durch heutige Veranstaltung besser kennenzulernen. Und ich möchte oder mit unseren alle Teilnehmer herausfinden, wer steckt hinter dieser ganzen Stempel. Und ich habe dir schon meine Fragen geschickt. Du hast auch sehr gut vorbereitet. Ich glaube, wir fangen mit meiner ersten Frage. Ganz einfach. Du kommst aus dem in deinem Wort wolkenbedeckte Ruhrgebiet und bist du in die große Welt gegangen. Jetzt bist du wieder in Deutschland und lebst in der Natur, würde ich sagen, fast in der Natur. Oder direkt in der Natur. Und was hat dich nach China geführt?
首先再次谢谢你们，而且你们应该知道我的中文不太棒，不太好，就马马虎虎，真的不太好。So I will start with my answers, with my presentation, and will show you my do you see it well?
Yeah.
So with that interview, we will talk about my time in China, which was from 2005 to 2018. That way. So what did bring me to China? As you said, I'm a researcher, a chemist, and entrepreneur, and I have developed a completely new technology based on a completely new material. I will not explain to you, don't worry. And one of the products was for the printed circuit board industry, Dianluban, and we provided a completely new process to make the final surface finish, Biaomian Chuli, which has to guarantee that the copper contacts, which you can see here, can be perfectly soldered, Kehanxing, and so that the electronic elements can well be connected with the board. And this is an extremely complicated process. And as then a few years after I had introduced the process to the market in mostly Europe, US, and then also in Korea, then all of a sudden many customers went to China one after the other. So all of a sudden we have been in China. So to your first question.
Okay, also ich wollte anfangen, kurz eine Umfrage machen und das geht doch nicht, weil viele haben die Kameras nicht angemacht. Ich wollte fragen, wer konnte Deutsch nicht verstehen und jetzt doch nicht. Und ich habe aber in meiner Einführung gesagt, wir können das Interview auf Deutsch führen, wenn du möchtest. Oder würde dir lieber Englisch, weil du Englisch sprechen, weil
ja, ich
deine
kann es gerne
Englisch,
auf Englisch machen, ja.
Okay, super. Gut, dann let's switch to English. So my first, my second question, when I first came to Germany, 2000, Christmas 2000, I had if people ask me what was your first impression of Germany, I can talk a couple of days about this. But the first, really, what's stuck in my brain is the start about from Frankfurt, a big forest. In the middle of the city. That was so impressive for me. And what has been your first impression of China in Shenzhen? And did these impressions change over time?
First, I already had an impression before I even went to China, because everybody has an impression. Also, I had been in China already 5-6 years before, because I had a contact with a Chinese researcher with the Chinese Academy of Science in Changchun. And I have been twice in Changchun, and we went out also to the Inner Mongolia border because I wanted to see cranes there. So I had an impression, which was mainly where is it? Sorry. Here. Sorry.
Du kannst deinen Bilderschirm nochmal freigeben.
Yeah. My impression was mainly that one. So China's city, already Changchun was very big, and Beijing is very big. And then I read about Shenzhen, and that is one view into Shenzhen. Finally, when I arrived in Shenzhen, I knew Shenzhen has more than 10 million people. During I was there, it grew to more than 20 million people. And the interesting thing is, later my Chinese friends told me, Shenzhen is not a big city, and all the Shanghai and Beijing people, they say, oh, Shenzhen is countryside. For me, Shenzhen was not countryside. It's just a huge, mega city, mega town. The population density, the traffic, the culture, and in fact, my impression before I went to China and when I arrived there, I was really terrified. But I also decided to cope with this challenge. And my first action was to look for somewhere to live, and that's it where I lived. I don't know who from those who are listening know Shenzhen a little bit, or maybe have been in Shenzhen. This Shekou, and from my balcony, I looked into the Shenzhen Bay.
You were my neighbor. I lived in Weilan Hai'an.
Weilan Hai'an. Yeah. Weilan Hai'an is very interesting. My first, I will show you soon, my first soccer team has been founded in Weilan Hai'an. And half of that soccer team, my friends, still live in Weilan Hai'an.
We had got to know each other at that time, Sean.
Yes. Yeah. I have been in Weilan Hai'an so often, yeah, and it's really close. So you will also see, you will also know Shekou and the Shenzhen Bay. This is Shekou Fishing Harbor, and that's where I lived here in 13th floor. Here you can see. Here another view from my balcony. That is a park which only was built 2015-16, and already before I have been at the coast very often, but now with that park one can bike and hike for more than 20 kilometers, really wonderful, and that helped me to overcome my fear about a big town, huge town, traffic jam and stuff. but also all the other things like I got the friends and learned to talk Chinese, at least a little bit. Okay.
So I have the feeling, as you just came to China, you missed the nature a little bit.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, I can understand that. The grandparents of my children, when they visited us in Weilan Hai'an, the grandma told my son, boy, I can't live here. I won't survive here. And my boy said, why, grandma? It's so modern everywhere here. We have swimming pool. We have it's a park. We live in park.
Yes.
But the grandma says, no, there's no nature.
So that's not true. Sorry, that's not true for Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Really, I have found so many parks. And I was finally the expert for the Botanic Garden in Shenzhen. Xianhai Zhiwuyuan have been there so often, and Shenzhen has wonderful, wonderful, wonderful nature spots.
Yeah, also Hong Kong.
Yes.
Hong Kong has also very beautiful nature spots. I know lots of European hikers, they fly to Hong Kong just for hiking there.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So during our preparation for this today's talk or today's interview, we talked a little about languages learning. I told you my experience when I came to Germany. The first thing I did it well or did it right, was learning the German language. That's crucially important for me. And you shared my opinion. You speak Chinese well. In China, it's your working language, right? You didn't have a translator or operator with you. So why did you start to learn Chinese, and why do you continue to start even now learn it, although you live in Germany?
Yes, why I started to study or to learn Chinese was clearly because I wanted to have Chinese friends, and I wanted to become able to truly communicate with my customers. Because I also found out with my customers that the English was quite limited. I can show maybe first here. So working with the customers here down there, you see one of the machines which we developed together with a Chinese company in which our process is running. The machines were between 25 and 45 meters long, and this complicated. And to bring this to run and to resolve all the various questions was really complicated. And it took many years until I finally was able to even give some a presentation freely in Chinese, whatever topic, also technical, scientific. But the major point was, and in fact, they have pushed me. This was my first team, and he was the founder living in Weilan Hai'an. They always told me, you have to learn Chinese, you have to study Chinese, because also their English was very limited. And why do I do this even now? Because I invested so much in studying Chinese and trying to really understand and speak relatively well, that I would feel it to be a loss if I suddenly stop. And even now, I already feel that my Chinese level is going down month by month, one step. And it's probably normal.
So you said you learned Chinese because of your career, your job in China. You want to communicate with the factory people directly, and you want to communicate with your football club fellows. But I think if you have not got to know the football players, or you have not joined the football club, or you lived in China not because of your company, have you still learned Chinese?
No. If I would not have been forced because of the huge problems we had in China in the first years, which from the distance in Germany, we have not been able to resolve. So, and my managers who were every once in a while traveling to China, they failed to resolve the problem. So finally I fired them and I decided I go myself. If I would not have gone myself, we would have never solved, and I would have become bankrupt. In fact, I was forced to go to China. If not this, I would have never studied Chinese. But before, I had also many Japanese customers. And before that, I tried to also study Japanese, which I have brought a little bit to some communication level, but all the Japanese was lost when I started to become a little bit okay in Chinese, and it's lost forever. And with the language, I have a very interesting experience. Even before I started to learn Japanese a little bit, except for English, I was fluent in French since my high school time. More and more fluent, even in my science work, I was able to give freely, without any preparation, a talk about my research in French, in a French university, with no preparation. And I thought, this will never be lost. One day in Shenzhen airport, I saw a group for French and passed by them, and I heard them talking about their problem. Where do we have to go? We are kind of lost. And so I thought I can help them, and I approached them and asked them, can I help you? And they looked at me, didn't understand, until I realized I was talking to them in Chinese. And I did not find even the simplest French words anymore. My French was completely lost, was covered by Chinese. And a few years ago, with my new Lebensgefährtin, a life partner, we have been in France, maybe first time in 2016. It was extremely complicated for me not to talk Chinese, but on a market to answer in French. And my friend always told me, again, you were talking Chinese.
I heard a similar experience from other Europeans when they started to learn Chinese. They forgot their second foreign language. I don't know why. For me, it's English. I'm losing my English. I'm talking English with you now, but I think in German.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So the next question is a little bit klischeehaft. Ich weiß nicht, wie man das auf Englisch sagt. We always talk about the top three. What are your top three unforgettable moments or experience during your time, during your stay in China, and during the 13 years?
Yes, and the first thing I want to say, it's hard to select only three, because I have really many unforgettable moments. But here are the three. And it was extremely strong feelings joining these many people here at a road between Shikow or Nanshan and the center of Shenzhen to watch the torch relay. And my friends always said, how did you make these photos? And I have many, many more. We have been somewhere inside here. We didn't see anything of the torch relay. Yes, I said, you need to know where to go, where it is possible to watch it. So they were jealous about my decision where to go.
That's very Chinese.
Yes, yes. Then at the end of my time in China, in the last 3 years, I had the chance to make 3 individually organized bigger touristical trips. Individually organized means I organized a driver, and that driver didn't know any Chinese, any English word, except for thank you and hello. And that's it. And my life partner, my friend, said all the time, don't leave me here, I would be lost, nobody understands me. Yes, I will not leave you here in the Gobi Shanhua. Shahua. So made 3 trips. One was to Gansu, the other one to Qinghai, and the third one to Yunnan. In Gansu, we lived very close to, or even inside, in fact, part of the outer skirts of the Gobi Desert, Gobi Shamur. And there inside, in a trip, by chance, we found an oasis. And in that oasis, it was not planned at all. We discovered a group of Przewalski wild horses, which was extremely touching for me, especially as I was able to approach them very, very closely and hear that young horse is sucking milk at his mother. It was extremely touching. And the third, for me, extremely touching moment, unforgettable, was at the Qianhaihu. We stayed there long time, just for nature. And one most important point was I wanted to see the black-necked crane, Heijing He. And it was hard to find them because it's so huge and the lake is so big. Then we saw a pair from very, very far. And I said, if we just walk around the plain, they will leave and we will not see them. So I decided I wanted to walk through this wet meadow disguised by the yak. And then my friend was afraid of, because they are so huge, but they are friendly. So we walked here and finally approached the black-necked cranes. This was really, really, for me, unbelievable, unforgettable, because it was a dream of mine since 30 years.
Did you make these kind of trips only with your partner or in
Yes.
a small group?
No, only with my partner and the driver.
And the driver.
I decided where we would go, and I had made the plan. And my best friend in China, a Chinese woman, she was my first employee. She said, no, you have to go there and there and there and there and there and there. No, no, no. I said, just 3 locations at every location, 3-4 days. So to really experience it, but then you won't see that and that and that and that. Yes, I won't see that. We are happy to see Qianhaihu for so many days. unbelievable.
I'm jealous. You've been someplace where the Chinese people won't go or don't know. You have seen wonderful stuff, animals and the landscape and the nature. I started to read your book. I feel strongly your love, your emotion to the nature. Could you tell us a little bit more about this? Why did it come?
This came in my youth, started in my youth. I'm from the Ruhr region, a highly industrialized and dirty center with, for German relation, many people. But in my youth, I had a deep phase, a long phase of depression, a depressive mood. So by chance, probably I went out to the only small forest we have there in my hometown. And there I finally find out I could be relieved, and I found the first bird feather and started to collect bird feathers. Then later I started to try to learn birds as well, and more got connected with nature.
You know,
and the same in Shenzhen.
In my field, it's very interesting. You told you were depressive. Yeah?
Yes.
In my field, there are lots of new therapy methods for how to say it,
to overcome depression.
Yes, depression or stress. The nature therapy is the therapy with animals. Therapy is just like do hiking or walking in the nature.
Yes.
I always told my clients, if you can do some sport, that's good. If you can go outside, do some sports in the nature, that would be better.
Yes.
I found a very touching paragraph in your book. I am very, really touched when I read this. It's page 11 and 12, 3 sentences. I don't know if you have this book. You have this book at your desk or where?
No, I don't have the book here
Okay.
at my desk.
Can I read these 3
Yes.
sentences?
Sure.
It's German, but I'd like to do it. I'd love to do it.
Yes.
Ich therapierte mich durch die Beschäftigung mit Vogelfedern und bei Aufenthalt in der Natur selbst und fand aus meinen Ängsten und meiner tiefen Niedergeschlagenheit heraus. Wald und Feld waren für mich Rückzugsorte geworden, in denen ich mich entspannen, über mich selbst und die Welt nachdenken könnte. Die Natur als vom Menschen geformte Landschaft, gleichermaßen wie wilde, raue, schwarz zugängliche und einsame Gegenden, ist seitdem regelmäßig Quelle der Entspannung und der Linderung von beruflichen und privaten Stress gewesen.
Ja.
That's the therapy.
Ja. Und so wie du sagtest, so as you said as well, sport. That's why I played soccer a lot in China as well. My time in China was extremely stressful. I was traveling every day, and I was working like 16 hours a day in average, and to have on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and then even also Wednesday, I had 3 teams in total, and playing soccer, and at another day to walk out to Xianhu, Zhewuyan, and be there alone, just on my own. That is really de-stressing, so relieving stress.
Yeah, I found your story with soccer club. It's very touching. When I Googled you, I came across a video. I think it's not of YouTube, but a Chinese platform. 新浪视频或者什么，我现在一下子想不起来。Before you left China, your club members they made a video for you.
Yes.
When I watched it, tear came. I had tear in my eyes. That's really very touched.
It was
your why I invited you to this interview. I think you are really one of the most interesting personality that I got to know in the last 20 years in Germany, who have also a relationship with China. You did not only live in China, but you lived your life there. You have Chinese friends, you speak Chinese, you got to know a little bit of real China, not like the other expats. A lot of other expats, they live there, in Shenzhen 10, 20 years, and they know Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, Hong Kong.
and they know other expats.
Yeah, they know other expats.
Yeah. In fact, when my soccer teams, all the three, prepared the our last farewell party, we were together with over 60 people, and there were just 2 expats, 2 foreigners, myself and my girlfriend, my life partner. Who is 70, even 1 year older than I am.
Yeah, and the story continued. I know you invited the whole club to Hamburg. Yes. in Germany. Yes. When was that?
In 2016. It was a long plan, and finally they decided to really come, and they also followed my recommendation not to visit 12 towns in 7 days, but to be in 7 days just in 3 different locations. And one was my farm, and we made a kayak, a canoe trip close to Lübeck, and we spent a day at my farm and all this kind of stuff. And finally, and we even hiked in the nature preserve there. Maybe I can show the readers what I see when the listeners here, when I watch out what I see here. Yes.
What a friendship.
So do you come out Lübeck?
Close to Lübeck. We are living about 40 kilometers away from Lübeck.
Ich wohne in Schabuz jetzt.
Ah.
Yeah, zwischen Hamburg and Schabuz.
Ah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we come to my next question. I thought about it. I just as I said, you were a special expert in my period. In my mind, I asked me the question: why, why you had this attitude to live in China as an expert, but at the same time you have a very different view of the whole thing. So I think, is it because of your personality, or is it because your background, your history, or is it because the whole 13 years of your China experience? So the next question is, in what aspects had China changed you and your life, and what is your biggest profit and loss?
So in what aspects did my view onto China change? As you said, I really had decided I want to live in China and not wait until I can go back to Germany. On the other side, it was an extremely exhausting work in China with the customers and all the traveling and the Chinese and the complicated technical problems and stuff. So the main thing which I learned first is when I previously thought, here are my limits. These have not been my limits. My limits have been far above, but also helped by my friends, by sport, by getting out to nature whenever possible. Then I have to say, or I can say, my view on China changed a lot because the better I learned Chinese, the more I could also talk to them, also privately, personally. What is with their family? I have, in Germany, I have 2 grandchildren. In China, I had 3 replacement grandchildren. So they replaced my grandchildren. And to get to see them grow. One of my grandchildren in China, I know since he was born, and he is now 15. So in total, my horizon has widened a lot about the people, the history, the culture, how China developed, also about politics. And sure, that is something one can heavily discuss, I know, but my view has really completely changed. And what also changed, I have never expected that I would really be able to kind of freely talk. I already have lost half of it, or I don't know how many percent. But when I started to be in China, I was already in the mid of my 50s. And finally even was able to somehow well speak Chinese. And your question, what was my biggest loss? I cannot answer. I don't see any loss. Something I wanted to show, I forgot to show, so I will do. One of my biggest wins was the nature in Shenzhen. And if you want, or maybe later when you get the whole presentation, you can look at this link. With this link, you can see a presentation which I have given to the company which invited me every year to their New Year's dinner. And that is the presentation for that, I think 2013 or so, I don't remember, the New Year's dinner. And I showed them 20, 30 bird photos from several locations in Shenzhen. And the 120 people who were attending that New Year's dinner, none of them knew any of these birds, and none of them has ever been in any of these nature spots. So I tried to motivate them, go out to nature. It's really available in Shenzhen. And these black-faced spoonbill, Halian Bilu, they are very rare birds. About 1,500 left, and they are only in Asia, and they are wintering in the Shenzhen Bay. And there, I didn't know, I just discovered them there. And after that, sure, one can read, and then one can find out, yes, half of them are wintering in Shenzhen Bay, and also at the Hong Kong coast.
Thank you for teaching me how to read the 4 Chinese characters. Okay, now you live in by Hamburg.
Yes.
I know Hamburg. I've never been to Lübeck. So what are you currently doing? What are you currently doing?
Yeah.
I know you have a farmer.
Yes.
A bio farmer.
I can tell you about, but first maybe I want to, do you see me at the full screen now?
I see the calligraphy and you.
Yeah, okay. So then I will show all of you what I see from my desk. And there, where the trees are, this is the boundary to the nature preserve here close to Hamburg. I'm living outside of Hamburg, but Hamburg is very close. And that nature preserve is where I have started 40 years ago to protect the first cranes which came to Hamburg. And then I was the organizer of the crane protection program, and which brought me to crane research, which I did in my leisure time, together with my, at that time, young sons. And finally, I wrote this book, which you used, Xinrong, you used to read a little bit. So this is part of my work, and also starting from my nature protection attitude. About now 12 years ago, I invested in a biological farm, which is Kattendorfer Hof. Here you see the link to that farm. And since 2009, when I invested, we grew heavily. Now we are, we have 60, more than 60 employees. We work on 450 hectare rented land, and in 2 locations. And now we have 5 our own shops, 4 in Hamburg. And starting August 1st, we will have the 6th shop of our own. Also, actually, I'm still active with my science and technology, because when I sold my company, they basically only continued the printed circuit board final finish technology. But my organic metal, Yoji Jinshu technology, which I had discovered, also can offer a highly efficient anti-corrosion system, which the company which bought my company did not continue. So I'm now rebuilding it together with an Indian company. Roughly since 6-9 months, I'm working on another book, which is more rooted in my science. My scientific work is apart from discovering the organic metal, which is a completely new material. It's devoted, focused onto dispersion, and that has big links to non-equilibrium thermodynamics, so something which you may not be interested in, but it also leads to the question how coincidence came into our world, and that is what I'm actually writing a book about, but I will not explain now. Just apart from that, my life partner and I, in total, we have 7 grandkids, but none of them jointly. So she has 5, I have only 2, so I lost that competition, if there was a competition. And one of them, he is 18 months old. Both parents are doctors, and they sometimes their shifts are overlapping, so we help them, and drive to Lübeck and take care of that grandkid.
Do you always show your grandchildren the nature as you did
Yes.
to your
Yes.
to your children?
Yes.
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 Back to your slides, the last slides. I have a couple of questions. Can you explain a little bit how your farm works? Do you sell the products of the farm or do you sell membership?
Both. We shall, which in English is called community supported agriculture. In German, it's solidarische Landwirtschaft. So with that, we sell a membership, and every member is booking a so-called harvest share. And every week we send to their store. So every of our member is member of a group somewhere, and that group somewhere has a storage room, and we send the products to that storage room. Plus we are sending our products to our now 5, soon 6 our own shops, and in these shops we are selling all kinds of products, not only our own farm's products. And the farm products are all kinds of vegetable, potatoes, sure, no rice, then milk, cheese, and meat, pig meat, and here we have the milk cows, and so their meat as well, if they get if they don't give the milk anymore. So everything except for banana and oranges and stuff that we don't have, sure.
Nice. May I visit your farm?
Yes, sure. You can come anytime, but now with Corona, a little bit more complicated, in Kattendorf, which is close to Kaltenkirchen. And a second location is closer to Scharbeutz, that is not far from Oldesloe. It's Gut Neverstar. If you later, when my presentation will be sent out, you can see kattendorferhof.de. You see our 2 locations, and you see our various shops on that website.
Okay. It's a link.
Ja,
Right?
Entschuldigung, das ist diese Interview und für diese Zeit nur zwischen vorher und Dr. Wessling und nach dieser Zeit, wir haben ungefähr 30 Minuten, alle Leute können Fragen stellen. Ja.
Yeah.
Victoria,你等一下有半个小时可以提问。
Okay.
没问题，感谢 OK。
没问题。
他这个 Victoria 我很羡慕你，你可以直接去他的农场买东西，可以。他们有很多的活动，他每年都有活动，这种像这种家庭的聚会非常有意思。Okay, Bernhard, zurück zu deinem Farm, go back to your farm. Is this the obligation or a prestige for the members to buy the harvest? They should buy the harvest, or they have the right to buy the harvest of the farm.
Sure, nobody is forced to buy a harvest share, but you cannot be a member without having the harvest share. Why do you want to be a member? Okay. And you don't want to eat our product? So that doesn't make any sense. To be a member with a full harvest share, you can also book a half share, or you book a vegetarian share, or you only book a vegetable share. Mm-hmm. But talking about the full share, it's 125 euro per month, and you get the full harvest share. Theoretically, you can fully be supported by that harvest share, theoretically. Mm-hmm. But everybody buys other stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. In your presentation, you said you invested in this organic farm
Yes.
when you were still in China.
Yes.
So at that time, was it just for you an investigation for the future, because organic will be very modern and popular stuff, or is it because of your love to nature, to environment?
That was the starting motivation. So to do something else for nature protection. That's why I invested, but there was another motivation. I also was thinking about how to invest my money, because 12 years ago, I could count that 12 years later, I would be almost 70. And in the meantime, I was 65, which is the normal time to Tuisho. So how to finance my my Tuisho time? And because I am a self-sustained entrepreneur, so the German insurance system doesn't support me. And when I invested 2009, you may remember we had the global financial crisis. So my question was, now I have a certain amount of money, which is thought to finance my time until I die. And if I put that to the bank, or I buy company shares, public company shares, or I invest in housing or whatever, what will be happening during financial crisis and whatever happens? And sure, I had no idea Corona would come, but I was aware of the possibility of crisis. And my other thought was not only nature protection, but if everything collapses, including all the banks, and all my money is lost, I will go to my farm and pick up a few potatoes, a little bit milk and cheese, and a piece of meat, and go back home and eat it.
So basically, you said it's not late when you start a new business or new life in the middle of 50s or end of 50s.
Sure, not too late. One can start and change life anytime.
Very good. So we are going to our last question. Then all of us will have half an hour to ask you questions and get your answers. Now, as most of the members of this book club are Chinese who live in Germany, most of them. So which advices would you like to give to the young Chinese people who are living here?
Sure, first, it's hard to say what advice, but just some recommendation from out of my experience in China. To immerse yourself deeply in Germany, which means to really study the German language, have German friends, try to get into contact with Germans, not only for work or for university or whatever you are doing here, but also for sport, for leisure time, and be together with Chinese only very, very rarely. Be more with Germans because you are in Germany now. And I don't know whether you will stay the rest of your life in Germany or go back to China. Like me, I was in China 13 years and I wanted to be for that time. In fact, I never knew I would be there 13 years. First I thought 2 years, then I thought 5 years, then I thought another 3 years, and finally total 13. So I never knew. But for that time, I wanted to be in China and live in China and be with Chinese and got to know China. Same for you in Germany. Got to know Germany together with Germans. I know there are a lot of ugly and bad Germans, but same in China, you have a lot of bad Chinese as well. So select those Germans who are good to you and you feel well together with them. There are a lot of them in Germany as well. Then my advice for every Chinese as well, do not only visit towns and culture and castles, but but also go out to nature. Try to find out what kind of birds do we have here. Go to nature protection areas, to national parks, to areas where there are no other people, almost no, a little bit lonely, mountains, seacoast. I wanted to ask you, who of you knows the Wattenmeer, the mudflat, Nitan?
Norderney habe ich nur Deich.
Yeah.
Weltkulturerbe.
Yes, it's Weltkulturerbe. It's Dui Wuar. Really, go there and watch it. And because Germany is small compared to China, it's roughly only as big as Guangdong. So get to know Europe, Fagor, Italy, Rügen, Norway. And one thing I really can recommend, go to Bingdao. Again, Dui Wuar. Plus, finally, don't read too much in Chinese books or in German books about Germany. Explore it yourself. When I read Chinese books, German books and English books about China, finally I found out they are all not appropriate. They do not tell me how is China. So what I found in China was completely different than what I read in the books. So, and then when you finally get the presentation, you can see here some links. You can visit my website and also find out a little bit about the book I published in 2011, Zhili Tamen Jiao Lao Wei. Lao Wei is my Chinese name. And here you can contact me. If you are a little bit interested in my crane research, next Wednesday, April 21, I will give a presentation not really at, because it's online. So I will sit here again at the University of Hamburg, Zentrum für Naturkunde, CENAC. And when looking at the web, you can see this link. And you can apply, get the link here at Universität Hamburg. So I will present my book about my crane research there. Yeah, that's basically it.
Vielen herzlichen Dank. Du hast diese Folie schnell weg. Ich glaube, also your advice, I agree with all of them, except a little bit different from my point of view. What you in your first advice said. You said do not primarily be together with other Chinese. I agree. If you live in Germany, it's a great chance to get to know the local culture, the local people, and only very rarely I don't agree. I lived there quite a long time. I think the route is very, very important.
Yeah, sure.
You feel safe, you feel comfortable with your life, then you can explore. So if I don't have contact to Chinese people, within a couple of weeks, I will be unhappy, or if I don't I don't write in Chinese. I need the Zugang to relationship to my mother culture.
Yes.
That's why I read Chinese, I talk to Chinese people, I write Chinese language. Mm-hmm. So I think the balance is important.
Yeah, I fully agree. Only what I mean with that, do it rarely means if you first focus more on getting to know Germans, which also means you get to know one or two or three, and two of them are not good, then you leave them, and then is left only one, and then another 2, 3, 4, and again you will lose two. But if you do not focus on how to get to know, then you will stick with Chinese, and finally you are in a Chinese bubble, in a China bubble in Germany, and you never get to know German. For me, there was a little bit additional thing. First, I really focused on getting to know Chinese. When I was looking for a soccer club, some people recommended me, there is an expat soccer club. I said, I don't want to play soccer with expats. I want to play soccer with Chinese. So finally I found them, and so got to know the first Chinese. But sure, I also got to know Germans and French and English and American people. But I have to say, I did not feel well with them in Shenzhen because of their attitude about China. Basically, they were not content in China. Every time I met them, they were criticizing their neighbor, their people in the company and the taxi driver and in the shop. I couldn't hear that anymore. So I had no interest to be with them.
So basically, you advise the Chinese people who are living here don't complain a lot.
Yes.
you need to know more people.
Yes, don't complain. Go out and explore new things, new areas, new locations. And in fact, please don't misunderstand me. I am focused on nature, but sure, I have also looked into Chinese culture. My girlfriend, my new life partner, when I got to know her and we came together, then she told me, when I was a young girl, I had the dream to once go on the China Wall, the Great Wall. I said, I was on the Great Wall, in fact, early 2000, when I visited Beijing and Changchun for my research stories. So I was on the Great Wall, but it was at a location where too many people were there. And I don't want to show you this area. So we will go to a different location. And we went to the outer west end of the Great Wall, where the Great Wall starts in the west.
In Gansu?
In Gansu. And we walked the Great Wall up. I will show you a photo, please. I apologize, I will walk a little bit. This photo here, can you see it?
Yes. Yes, Great Wall.
That's the Great Wall. And here, this walkway, we walked. And these are really, again, touching, unbelievable moments. And sure, I have seen, in fact, twice, the soldiers in Xi'an, and I was on famous mountains and in Beijing on various culture locations. Sure, also do this, also in Germany, and also visit the castle. Sure, go to Heidelberg. Sure.
Sure, Schloss Neuschwanstein.
I have never been in Schloss Neuschwanstein.
Yeah, I know lots of Germans who never been there.
And I don't go there, but I know the Wattenmeer.
Last year I led my husband to Heidelberg. I was 5 times there, but for my husband it was the first time.
Yes.
Okay, Bernhard, let's take care of the questions in the chat.
Yeah.
Let's go through it. The first question I see is, what was the biggest difficulty when you were learning Chinese?
It took me, when starting to learn Chinese, it took me 1 full year until I was able to express the first real phrase. Before that, I only was able to express a few words, but never a full phrase. That was the biggest thing to understand. And then the second big problem was when I started with my first phrases, very nice experience, funny. I trained myself for one phrase because I was driving with my bike to a soccer field. And I knew that soccer field will have 8 places, and we were scheduled to play on place number 4. And I could imagine, and I didn't know that place, but I could imagine that place, that number will not be marked. So nobody would know where is the field number 4. So I went there and I prepared to ask anyone to tell me where is field number 4. So I had the phrase and was asking Ching Wen Zhou Chan Se Hao Zai Na Li? Then the guy answered me, sorry, I don't understand English. So then I repeated, Zhou Chan Se Hao Zai Na Li? Sorry, I don't understand English.
Desperate.
So I said that a third time, and then his friend said, but he is talking Chinese.
So you felt a little bit frustrated.
Yes.
You were talking Chinese, but people didn't understand you.
Yeah.
But you didn't give up. You learned.
I didn't give up, yes.
Okay. And the second question is also related to Chinese learning. What are you doing regularly to maintain your Chinese language skills? How do you learn Chinese now?
Now I have a Chinese teacher who is living in Lübeck, but now since 1.5 years we are doing it online, or one year doing it online by Skype. So once per week I have 1 to 2 hours a Chinese course with her. Communication, reading, and questioning, and also writing.
Yeah, I can say a couple of words to my learning of German. I went to a German language school in Dortmund, and after 6 months, I found good classes, because my level has arrived a relative high Stufe. Then I learned, I only took private lessons.
Yes.
I have a private teacher. We get together once a week and write articles, and she corrected, and we talked about it, discussed it, or we read together a book, a literature from a great großer Schriftsteller. So we read the same book from the first page to another, and we talk about the figures and the talk about the book. That's how I continue learn German until today.
Yes, good.
Now I have still a German teacher. That's quite comfortable.
What I also can see is your German level is higher than my Chinese level.
Danke, danke. Okay. Next question. I see people ask about the video link. Maybe the link I just mentioned about the farewell video from your soccer club. The soccer club was named 老牛, richtig?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. If you Google, 如果你 Google 哈老牛足球队，深圳老牛足球队，然后有 Bernhard 的中文名字老卫和老牛深圳老牛足球队，你会找到这个录像啊，所以非常感人的一段录像，是他离开中国的时候，这个足球俱乐部送给他的。你们可以看到他那个作为守门员，50多岁、60岁的人，这个守门员矫健的身姿啊，不比我们的Neuer 差，看上去。OK， 如果找不到的话，可以跟我联系哈。我现在再往下看，还有没有其他的？如果没有的话，我们现场可以再提问。OK。Okay, the website and the farm's location. 我们会把Bernhard 的 PowerPoint 全部对吧？那个非凡是这样的哈，会放到你写在 chat 里面，或者是把它放到 chat 里面，然后你们就可以都找得到他的那个有机农场的活动和一些新闻信息。
我们还会写到这个公众号里面。
公众号里面 ，OK。就是公众号你会发一篇这个回顾是吧？
对，是的，是的。然后这个包括它的信息都会在上面。然后这个视频我们也会做一个视频。
OK， Bernhard, lies was die Teilnehmer im Chat geschrieben haben. Grüße aus Heidelberg.
Ja, ich habe es kurz aufblicken sehen. Ja, ich war gelacht. Ja.
Okay, jetzt noch eine Frage. Now one more question. I saw that you also built a company. Can you tell us why and how did you build this company? I don't understand which company you mean. You mean the company in Shenzhen or the company? You mean the bio farm? I'm not sure.
This question is from my side. As I want to ask about the company in Shenzhen. How and why did you build this company?
Okay, diese Chemie-Company Firma in Shenzhen. Warum hast du damals diese Firma aufgebaut?
Ja, also zunächst mal, first I had the company in Germany. Then when I started to be in China, I created a company subsidiary. In fact, that we didn't locate in Shenzhen, but by chance in Nantong. Because there, some people helped us to very easily and with very small money to just set up an empty company shell. Because I needed to start paying my Chinese employees. Then when I sold the whole company, with which I made the new technology, the company who bought my company asked me to be their consultant. But in order to really officially get money in China and not to be illegal, I needed a company basis. So I started a consulting company, Laoway Technology Consulting.
Laoway Technology Consulting.
Yeah, and that company was really located in Shenzhen, but there was no, except for an official office, which I never used, there was no building and nothing and no employees. I was the only one. And with that company, I was able to also organize my residentship, so my visa and my work permit, and I could receive the money, I paid taxes and all that stuff.
Okay, Bernhard, I saw here a question from audience of YouTube, a stream of the book club. It's a long question. Do you know an international supply chain company called the PCH International in Shenzhen? I was impressed when I visited it 10 years ago, as they connected global demands on local production in Guangdong as well. What is your experience of the development of the IT industry in China?
I was kind of connected with the IT industry in China because my customers, which had been all over China, in every industrial region in China, they have not been in Gansu. But everywhere where was industry, there I had customers. So that's why I was visiting the whole industrial part of China. And all of them were connected with the IT industry somehow. And Shenzhen is a big center. That also was by chance. When I decided to be in Shenzhen, this was not because Shenzhen was a center of the IT industry. I only found out later. So Lenovo is there and many IT companies. And I have to say, I am completely impressed, fully impressed about the progress the IT industry has made in China. Unbelievable. And China is 20 years in front of Germany.
20 years. Wow.
Yeah, when I told my German family how I pay and how I call a taxi in China, they thought I am from the future, but not from the present.
对不起，有2个问题没有提，你直接说出来好吗？我怎么
刚才是不是中间有2个问题被跳过了？
对，他是写的很长。Okay, Dr. Wessling, thank you for the amazing presentation interview. I have 2 questions for you. One, people who have eyes for nature is blessed. Not everyone has eyes, attention to nature. How did you find your connection to nature? Why did you suggest people buried with work to develop a connection to nature? The second question, can you share your knowledge about Germany's mechanism in terms of protection nature? What is your opinion about nature protection in China? Where should China focus the next in terms of nature protection? Wow, they are big questions. Yeah, before you answer them, I strongly recommend you people, you guys read this book. I was very surprised. I thought it's a book about a bird, about a Kanish, about her. But for me now, I start to read it. It's philosophisch. It's sehr philosophisch, super geschrieben. Ich bin ein Literaturliebhaber. Du hast wirklich gut geschrieben. Ich liebe deine Sprache. 这本书是非常它并不是说对我来讲，当然它是一本关于鹤的，关于自然的，中间也讲到了，回答了你这个问题，它怎么跟自然产生联系的，也可以看一下。好，可以。Now, do you still remember the questions?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, please.
And I know that many people don't have an eye. on nature. And you cannot go to somebody and ask them, please teach me to get the eye. That you can only do by going out yourself and watch and watch and listen and walk and just enjoy. And sure, if you walk with somebody who already has an eye, he or she can show you something which you didn't see, like my new life partner. She also loved nature, but she had no eye. And when we started to, we are only together 6 years now. And when she started to be with me, we went out, and then I said, oh, look there, which bird, and look up there, which bird. And then about half a year ago, she told me, now I am starting to myself see the birds, and also starting to see the fresh green, and she sees more and more and more. And the same is when you go out. What then do nature protection? In fact, I am not content with nature protection in Germany at all. Many nature protection, including the one which I'm looking at, are nature protection areas in words, but not in reality. Nature is much more than to have a sign which tells you nature protection area. In every country, we need to leave more bigger areas, just leave them alone, let them develop by their own, and not with all the human influence all the time inside. So that's a big thing. And I think, except for that China has the huge cities, and China is, in the past, has made a lot of damage to nature, I see that China also has concluded need to protect the nature. And there are more and more well-maintained national parks, and China is huge and has big areas where are no people. That's already a treasure.
Okay, ich erlaube mir ein paar Sätze zu ergänzen.我给自己一点权利。我作为一个在德国为中国和亚洲人服务的心理咨询工作者，对于自然和人和自然的联系，我在这里想补充几句。你这个问题上提得很好，就是发现自然的眼睛，但是还可以有发现自然的耳朵，发现自然的手，发现自然的你这个人。我们不需要你对鸟不感兴趣，我对鸟不感兴趣。我这本书其实是为我的孩子买的，他想以后作为一个鸟科学家。我对鸟不感兴趣，但是我非常热爱自然，我愿意在自然里面。那我愿意，我在自然我找的运动，可以在自然里面运动。你 jogging 也好，跑步也好 ，spazieren， Fahrradfahren， 这个也是跟自然的联系。你喜欢画画，你更加可以到自然里面去画这个自然。所以可以发现自然的眼睛，有发现自然的耳朵，有发现自然的你还有其他的你的 Sinnes Organe， 你的所有的感官都可以去发现自然。人在自然里面，自然而然你就感觉非常舒服。那个 Dr. Wessling 最后给我们这张 PowerPoint 在第7页最后，就是我问他，你能给在德国的中国人提哪些建议？他的前3点，第1点学德语，第2点sport hobbies， 第3点是关于去到自然里面。如果这个3点大家都做到了，你就不可能有抑郁，就抑郁就离你很远了。有一个 beschäftigung， 你有事情可以做，你有 sport， 你运动你的身体，然后你去到自然，这是最好的 therapy。 为了我们大家的健康 ，the nature is the best therapy. If you can, you do it. 那非常好。OK， 中间还有2个问题问我的，那这个小姐姐，你可以在我的公众号下面有那个EQ 码哈，你可以加我，然后我们可以再讨论，因为今天我们是采访这个Bernhard Wessling 是这个我在这里就不回答你给我提的问题了，不是我不回答，是我们可以用其他的渠道来回答。因为我们时间有限，我们时间已经到了。其实还有没有其他没有回答的问题啊？那个，
应该是没有了。然后那个叶林把这个 Dr. Wessling 的书的链接放上来了。
OK，
然后大家可以点开，然后去看一下。
对，我可以给这个小姑娘，小姐姐把我的微信号写在里面吗？她可以直接加我的。
可以。
我就叫很简单，我写心理。
田老师，我有您的微信
啊，你已经有了哈？对，应该就是这样子，叫心理咨询，然后下划线这是我的我忘了是微信号还是公众号的那个。好，我很希望你可以跟我联系，我愿意跟你讨论这些问题，好吧？你提的这个问题也是很多人会提的，在中德的文化的差异跟怎么样深入到德国的社会哈，我们经常说融入，对，我要收回来，这个不是我的。
对，之后那个前辈可以专门再给我们书友会再做一些讲座，就关于这些 tema， 我觉得也很多人会感兴趣。对
Bernhard, vielen herzlichen Dank. Ja. Ich möchte heute doch zum Ende unseres Interviews oder Questions and Answers einen Satz aus dem Buch vorlesen. Wir Menschen haben allen Grund zur Bescheidenheit und dazu, uns gegenüber der Natur respektvoll zu verhalten. 这是在扉页上的这句话哈，我觉得他说的 Bescheidenheit。der Natur gegenüber 对我来讲，我觉得是我们这个 Bescheidenheit 不仅是 Natur， 我们对我们周围的所有的人，我们都要有这个 Bescheidenheit， 一个谦虚的心，不仅是对大自然，不仅是对动物，这么可爱的、有趣的动物，对我们的工作、我们的同事、我们的家人。对我们的生命都应该有这个 Bescheidenheit. Also das ist wirklich ein philosophisches Buch für mich. Ich muss mehrfach das erwähnen. Entschuldigung. Vielen herzlichen Dank, dass du heute bei uns bist. Und ich hoffe, vielleicht sehen wir uns wieder bei diesem Buchclub, ja, wenn wir interessante Themen finden. Und ja.
我需要谢谢你们都感兴趣和我的经历中国经历，但是也大自然经历和等等，谢谢你们。
OK， 那我就交给非凡。
好的，再次非常感谢vielen Dank Dr. Wessling. Und ich möchte auch etwas erklären für unser Book Club. Für jede Aktivität, wir haben nur 40 Leute. Wir dürfen nur 40 Leute, weil wir möchten nicht so groß. Weil das Kleine, dann jede Leute kann Fragen stellen, dann beantworten bekommen. Ich glaube, das ist sehr wichtig. Wenn das zu groß ist, dann jede Leute kann nicht daran teilnehmen. Ja, und später, wir möchten eine Textzusammenfassung machen und auch eine Videozusammenfassung machen. Dann ich schicke Ihnen diese.
Ja, danke.
Ja, und非常感谢 Dr. Wessling， 非常感谢房姐，
我也非常感谢你们，
非常感谢，也非常感谢所有的参与者。那咱们今天
还有最后一句话哈，我很想知道大家对这次活动的反馈，非凡你可以怎么收集 这个反馈，因为对于我将来还想请更多的这样的德国的人士，甚至会说流利中文的德国的法律界的人士，就是他完全可以用中文做讲座的，没有任何问题。还有其他的，但是我想今天是我们第一次尝试哈，对我来讲是第一次尝试，所以我想知道大家的对今天这次活动的一个真实的全面的一个反馈，你能用什么方法收集一下？然后我想看一下。
可以的。我们之前有做过这个调查问卷，然后我们也可以在群里收集一下这个今天的反馈。好的，非常感谢，抱歉。好的，那咱们今天就到这儿，然后大家周末愉快。感谢大家，
周末愉快，
再见，拜拜。
周末愉快，
周末愉快。拜拜。